have already expressed my views on this on a few occasions. But I'm happy to repeat my position. Now we have MBTI, but like we also have other kinds of what I call typology. Any simple typological system are going to be inadequate because human beings are way more complicated than that. All you need to do, right, to verify my statement is to get a group of friends with the same typology, right? And then ask yourself, are they all the same? Can they be different, or can they behave very differently on very significant issues? In relationships, in life, in religion, in politics, in art, in literature. When you come to think of those, then you understand that the individual differences that we each have is unlikely to be easily captured by any typology. What is making more sense, in my opinion, is not typology, but dimensions. The best use of this is that you use those dimensions and look at yourself. I am introverted or extroverted. I find that I'm introverted in some circumstances and extroverted in other circumstances. I'm sensing more in some situations. I'm using my intuition more in other situations. I'm a thinking person most of the time, but then I have my feeling moments as well. Judgment and perception to me also is not clear-cut and either or. It is depending on the context and who am I interacting with. If you understand that you do not allow the typology to define yourself, but you use the dimensions in a reflective manner to get yourself to understand yourself better, that is nothing wrong with it. That actually can be a good thing. If you are applying it to interpersonal relationship, the risk is even stronger. Why? Because if you use typologies to make sense of the other person, you are stereotyping. You're expecting things that are conforming to what this personality typology is telling you. But in a relationship that we want to see as growing and developing into an intimate one, a key objective in this process is to embrace the full uniqueness of this person that you're relating to. How this person is different than other people, not how this person is the same as other people in the same typology, right? And if you have been following SSLD instruction, then a person is better defined by this person's needs, which changes over time, a person's circumstances, which also change dramatically over time, a person's characteristics, which is relatively stable, but can be modified through learning, education, and change, or interventions like counseling and psychotherapy. You also pay attention to a person's capacity, which we hope will be continuously growing. Right? This is why I personally do not find any kind of typology to be particularly helpful when we're negotiating intimate relationships. We encourage people to privilege uniqueness. We encourage people to learn to understand the other. And then we can also argue that some of these dimensions are more important during certain situations than others. Let me give you an example. Say resilience is a very important human quality. But when you are living in times that are peaceful, calm, and stable, with very little crisis and external challenges, resilience would not appear to be the most prominent dimension. So say, for example, if we're living in a period of political and economic stability, we will be paying more attention to people's intelligence, social skills, achievement motive. Those tend to explain more of the variance that we are dealing with. But if you're looking at who would survive in a concentration camp, then you'll be asking a different set of questions, and then other characteristics and qualities become relevant. I understand that someone like me would survive very well in a civil society where knowledge and skills and verbal skills and articulation and communication skills are valued. If I was sent to be a recruit in an army to fight a war, I would be among the first people to die off in the battlefield, right? What I'm trying to point out is what is an important personality trait or characteristics is never independent. It is always context dependent. And any kind of simple typology will not be adequate when you take it across different social situations. And this is why a comprehensive understanding would include dimensions of how we characterize the environmental context. We also look at different dimensions that are important for adjusting to the environment. So I'll give you an example. If you have very poor visual acuity and you have low sensitivity in terms of processing sensory input data, and the task that you have to deal with is surviving in the wilderness, then you are hugely disadvantaged. But you won't be if you are living in an urban environment, competing in a corporate bureaucratic system. So I think it is important for us to understand that any overly simplified measure of personality would be of limited value for the same reasons. And this is why I think I would always argue against over-reliance on typology. I just want to point out that using typology systems like the MBTI is very natural, especially in the earlier phase of the development of human intelligence. This is what people do. As a young baby, the first thing you learn to differentiate is what belongs to you and what does not. When you suck your thumb, you know that the thumb is part of you. When you suck a bottle or a pacifier, you know that the pacifier and the bottle is not you. So separating between what is me and not me is typology, is classification into two types or two categories. We learn that, and then we know that, these are parents, family members, and these are non-family members. So again, you have a typology. So you go to school, but school is not home and home is not school, right? So that serves us really well up till the point when you get into more complex situations. Say, for example, if your parents decide to do homeschooling, then all of a sudden these typologies do not fit. If you've taken even an elementary class in statistics, that this is what people in statistics call the nominal scale. And you immediately know that one step up is the ordinal scale. So you do not just separate things into categories, you are scaling them, right? You're comparing, is it more or less, right? How much more and how much less? When you say how much more and how much less, it takes you to the interval scale. And then you can get on to the ratio scale, right? Where there is a meaningful zero, and then you can be adding, subtracting, multiplying and dividing the numbers, and it makes sense. So when you look at this as a way to access reality, you can ask yourself the question, whether you're talking about MBTI or astrology or blood types or whatever, you have to ask, what level of scaling are we talking about? And can that adequately capture the variation or the distribution of differences across individuals? So any typology, remember, right, is an oversimplification. And if you use it or you rely on it too much, you're running a huge risk of obliterating or erasing the individual uniqueness of the person that you should be developing a special relationship with.